Wait, the final, well, not final, but the video, this is about healthcare and about the government shutting down, but this topic is like suggested by the fact that like it'll appear like we're sort of like we're doing our thing, but like a number of times today, like we've done, like there's a car theme. Here's what we want to say about that. There's two things, okay? There's a couple things. There's a lot of things. First of all, but we'll get to the healthcare part in a moment. Well, first of all, okay, this is the thing. That senator like Ted Cruz who like filibustered the bill, he did something which like I made a video about where he like sat them for an interview and every single thing he said about like why he's blocking the bill. I mean, I said, well, is that true? I mean, people have to explain what I don't know. I mean, yeah, you can't just say things and not what is that true? Why is it true? Or a lot to say. He said about a chain of things that each would require like a whole interview to find out what is that real. He said, well, the health bill, the health law, whatever. He said it harms unions. I mean, does it? I mean, I've heard the constant from like people who like want it repealed. Like those, like I said, when guy said less people are going to become doctors, but I mean, people gotta explain what they mean. So like, right, in thinking of like car manufacturers, like right, I mean, there's like one thing about cars is that like I don't know what Ted Cruz means. Is that true? Can we look at it? Why is that? Or is there language? Like I said, a lot of this is so it could be repealed. There's language in it that should be taken out. There's some that affects people like me. I think about durable power of attorney and living wills. There's a thing about the mandate on very small businesses. Like this thing, is it language in it that harms the unions? Why can't they correct the language, or what does he mean? But also, there's something we didn't mention in the healthcare video where we talked about healthcare and what was in the paper today that I didn't mention that is automobile related actually. Which is that in the article about what's happening to the economy as a result of the shutdown of the government, we're finding out all the ways in which like we might be talking about automobiles today. We already mentioned Tesla and things like that, and why closing. If we could like give our economic sovereignty back, we could do different kinds of bring manufacturing back and like bring Tesla up from the hollow earth to like find out how we could construct automobiles like in a different way and there'd be jobs. But wait a minute. I talked about this is another, this shutdown of the government is yet another thing that's creating this kind of like two-class society with a permanent underclass that's like just either getting locked up in prison or in tent cities, Everything we do to harm the economy, there's more and more people like that. But what it said in the article that I referenced about that, which really is the subtext, is referring to the neoliberal project, talks about a permanent underclass. It says it says an America of the rich and then shantytown dwellers. Right, that's the neoliberal nightmare, and it's happening. It's just like because such people don't maybe I doubt they vote. They're like the guys who live on Delachaise. Like what do they know that nothing's being done to help them. So that's not who our politicians are talking to. But it did say something in here that the subtext is about what happened to one of the things that happened to automobile manufacturing and a lot of other like jobs were union jobs in the neoliberal project we could mention. It said in that article, this is how it said it. There's someone who, the column's called like politics and ideas, but like, well, the ideas, they decided not to be specific. But like, right, it says, well, the main driver is I guess he means one of the main drivers of this thing where there's a permanent underclass, permanent unemployment and everything. The way he puts it is, I don't know who this is, smart machines that can do and do better an ever-rising share of what human beings do to earn their living. Okay, this person needs to like come sort of like, I don't know, he's in cocktail party land. That's like the language I would use. But what it refers to is this about the neoliberal project and about what's up with manufacturing and like what had used to be like there were a lot of jobs that were like unionized and like high paying manufacturing jobs. It's a big topic, especially in places like Detroit and stuff, like what happened to manufacturing of automobiles. And like I want to say something about it, and certainly people who follow Chomsky know this, and which is he's referring in the article to the role of automation in displacing all kinds of different people from the economy. Chomsky was at MIT when automation was developed, and here's something like people need to know to be economically literate. Under liberalism land, like we're in the liberalism thing, like no one knows about like the economic, they don't know about it leaves out a bunch of things about like economics and social class. Automation that did put a lot of like the working class just out of work. Automation was, and it's claimed, he calls it their smart machines who do things better. Well, where did they come from? That is, and what you'd be told in a university is that, well, that's the market in its infinite wisdom, like, creates, automation, and, if workers are unemployed, well, we have a flexible labor market. That's part of what they call it in the neoliberal project when you're adjusted out of the economy. They would claim that, well, that's just technology and the market on the march. Here's what, like, Chomsky talks about, and he was at MIT when automation was developed. Okay, the reason for developing automation is the same reason for building excess capacity, meaning empty factories in places like Mexico. Okay, it's a weapon of class war against the unions. We're getting this about healthcare, but part of the neoliberal project and what birthed it was that when unions, like, automobile unions and stuff, were extremely powerful in the 70s, and capital felt they couldn't meet their demands, they were intractable. What do we do? Right, they went to a blackboard, and so what we'll do is we'll abandon the physical economy, we'll wage a one-sided class war, and everything will just disintegrate, and like we'll just do financial activity and see what happens, basically. And what happens is this, but automation, the development of automation, like the building of excess capacity, was developed by tax dollars, state funding, developed these things as it was developed automation. Okay, it was cost prohibitive. Like, it didn't make sense from a market standpoint or a business standpoint to develop automation. Like, it was too costly to do such a thing. But even though it would ultimately, like, could replace workers, like, Chomsky was there when it was developed. The idea, no, it would be too expensive to be developed by the market, but it was developed using tax dollars as a weapon of class war. It was part of the neoliberal project. Is like, oh, you want to organize for better wages, or the union wants better wages? Well, how about this? Like, we now have machines that'll do your job. It was developed as part of this ongoing project to have like a weapon of class war. It would have been too costly to do by market forces. Like, the market didn't create automation, and the market isn't what shifted production overseas, because it didn't shift overseas. They built excess capacity for automobile manufacturing all over the world. And then when people made a strike for better wages, automobile workers and stuff, they simply said fine, would you like to go work in Mexico, or we'll just shift production, so that's not a market force, because it was cost prohibitive. It's a costly thing, and it wouldn't be a good idea from profit making, to in the short term, to build factories, to build automobiles in high repression areas or other areas. But it made sense as part of this project of a way to make it so people can't organize for high wages. By the way, where this currency trading thing fits in, what the currency traders at that transnational level are looking for, where they need to park their money before they dip it in to make what they call pips on the spread of they buy up currency. Here's the thing, that you directed me to my TV. What's on TV? Well, I'm trying to figure out what you mean. Let me see if we got something here. Oh, I don't know. Well, that looks like something. But hold on a second. This is the thing. Part of what the currency traders are looking for, and what they use our country for, and why, if we really tried to build national health care or bring back production, would be punished by capital flight, is that where they want to park their money is they need low wages and low growth. Meaning, people like me, the stock market's in low growth, the money has no value, and wages remain low and keep getting lower, and no one can organize. That's part of what transnational currency traders want. They need a place to park their money. So it's driving all the societies into low wage, low growth equilibriums that's bad for both investors and workers. Now, the thing is, though, but all of this has to do, it's let me say something, but part of it is this: if they allowed us to have sovereignty or our economy back, we got out from under the threat of capital flight, right? We could have science driver programs for the new cars that don't run on oil, and there'd be like a whole new type of production. They teach you technical skills in the community colleges and those kind of jobs. It would be like when we first had an auto industry, be brand new. Yeah, they they would do the collective bargaining. There'd be unions. They could have healthcare with that. Like I said, having moving to healthcare when there's that mass unemployment there's a missing component. Okay. But that's the most we can say about that. But by the way, the adjustment, this whole thing, like automation and using like excess capacity for class war against like automobile, people work in factories, that's part of that. When I say poor African Americans were structurally adjusted out of the economy as the neoliberal project ramped up, it's part of the mass incarceration, part of the prison labor is part of our economy because you have no rights in prison. You can be paid Singapore wages. Right. And there being no factory jobs making automobiles, right? Anyone who's not college educated or articulate has nothing to do. Like you can only there was a type of person who worked in automobile factories. Huge amount of them were African American. When all this went down, that's when the mass incarceration really started.